As South Africa transitions to a new form of governance, questions are abound. What changes are likely to manifest under the government of national unity? Will there be significant policy changes on the social and economic spheres, or will it be more of the same? Well, here to help us answer questions on the likely impact on the local economy is Dr Frederich Kirsten from the School of the Economics at the University of Johannesburg. Thank you so much, Dr. Kirsten, for your time this afternoon. I mean, South Africa's most pivotal elections have come and gone, but there's still a lot of, uncertainty around the 7th administration as coalition talks are still ongoing. Just talk to us about, some of the concerns on the market as many look at these potential economic impacts of the various coalition scenarios.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me on the show. Yes, I think it's quite interesting at the moment. I think the markets are actually, markets have anticipated this uncertainty, but I haven't anticipated the outcome. And I think that is where we are at the moment. I think there's so much hinging on what is the outcome going to be in terms of the GNU. So I think that's so important. And I think it's important to know that the markets are almost stable and almost waiting now for the outcome to be announced and to listen, where are we heading with this regarding the coalition, the government of national unity, and moving forward with South Africa in terms of economic policy reforms.
And I mean, it would be very confusing for ordinary South Africans and you're listening to, some of the most influential commentators speaking about, the various scenarios. Let's look at what's happening now recently. The African peer review mechanism, has responded to Fitch ratings commentary on South Africa's political landscape in general. Of course, they are accusing Fitch of being, of having a political interference of sorts. I mean, what do you then make of what Fitch is suggesting, that a coalition between the DA and the ANC would ensure, firstly, policy continuity, and secondly, fiscal tightening?
I think the markets are expecting that as the best outcome. I think they're anticipating that and hoping for it. I think in terms of economic policy reforms, I think it will heighten the economic policy reforms. We've already seen some major public-private partnerships in the energy sector that's led to various success stories in the recent past. And I think that is where the markets want South Africa to go in terms of that coalition or that type of environment, in terms of focusing on the market economy. But really also the key issues here is the political power at play in terms of the various policies and whether they will allow to sacrifice some of their policy agendas to order to get to a clear grounding or to equal grounding where they can actually move forward together. And I think that is where markets are very uncertain of whether the South African governmental parties are actually at a point where they can actually move forward together and do good for the rest of the South African economy. And I think that is where we are currently as we anticipate what is to come on Friday.
Given Fitch's global influence and painting this scenario at this stage where we still don't know what is to happen, I mean, we're still waiting for Friday, and after that, I mean, there will still be more decisions taken. How is the international market reading into this, and what happens in the likely scenario that this doesn't happen?
I think the international markets are actually waiting for it because they want to invest in South Africa. I think South Africa is a very strong economy to actually come and invest in, a very good prospect for international markets. But I think, again, they're now waiting and seeing what is happening, especially if you take some of the other possibilities that might not be as favorable for the international market, which might then disincentivize them to invest. And I think that is now where we are. And I do believe strongly that I think that after this week, everything will be cleared up. But I do think even moving forward, the biggest thing for South Africa is to focus on policies that can transform the economy, like the president has said, and also rapid reforms in terms of allowing the private-public partnership to take hold of the economy and really moving forward with job creation, because those are the areas which South Africa has severely structural issues at. And I think that's so important. Poverty, inequality, unemployment, all of those triple challenges are so important to address. With whatever new government and administration takes place, that will be the central issue, is taking that forward. And there's different ways of how you can do that, but it's mostly generally seen that a market economy is one of the better ways in terms of reducing unemployment in the country, and it will attract the most international funding, which is needed for job creation.
Just looking at other things, that are needed in terms of just, going into and making sure that the economic growth vision for the country is met. I mean, what then would you be looking yourself into in terms of the new government, forming and taking hold of some of the issues that we are facing, particularly high unemployment rates? I mean, there's been talk of, growth of the township economy being crucial for South Africa's future, for instance.
I think the key word there probably would be the inclusive economy. I think the government needs to, the new administration needs to focus on the inclusive economy, because there are certain types of economic growth that doesn't really lead to pro-poor growth and reducing inequality. So you need to focus on the township economy, you need to focus on the inclusivity of economic growth to make sure everybody gets a piece of the pie in terms of the economic growth moving forward. And I think that is so central, because even if the economy is growing, but our inequality is rising, that will further lead to social instability. So it's important for us, for the new administration, to earn the trust of South African citizens, to show them, listen, this new administration has the best interest for all South Africans at heart, and they can reduce inequality and poverty and lead the economy forward with economic growth, and not just focus on economic growth that maybe further enriches the elites and so on, but actually has a distributional effect on the economy that can later on talk about a basic income grant moving forward and so on. So those are all the concepts that they'll have to think about as they move forward, because even with a new administration that's more market orientated, if they don't really adhere to the people's call for job creation and reduced inequality, then it's not really going to lead to the outcome they want, because we've had market economies and we've had market policies in the past that hasn't been successful due to the fact that it's just not as inclusive as it needs to be.